Hi, I'm Kamali, taking you through the stories people are talking about and sharing around the world on NewsFeed today. Racism on campus in the UK exposed by social media. Troubled man or terrorist, the Austin bomber is dead and the questions multiply. Trump boasts and Mohammed bin Salman giggles. How major arms deals are announced by the US and Saudi Arabia in 2018. And Kanye West fans, this new app could change your life. All right, at the top of our newsfeed today, Exeter University. Now, this is the university's promo video. As you can see, it looks like a pretty nice place to study. It's in the southwest of England and is a very good school. Now, when I was at uni in the UK, it was known for engineering and for rugby. Now, thanks to a student leaking his WhatsApp group chat, it's being associated with casual, grim racism. Now, this is a screen grab from a WhatsApp group called the Dodgy Blokes Sock. The members are from the Bracton Law Society in Exeter, and it shows what these lads, and you can't see me doing that inverted comma thing, but trust me, I am, engaging in what, inverted commas again, they would call banter. Actually, now I think it's called bants. And this bants is racist, sexist, homophobic, insulting to people with terminal illnesses. I could go on, but you get the idea. Now, the student who shone the light is called Arsalan Motalevi, and he says he was given the strength to do so after seeing this from earlier this month, and a warning, this might upset you. Well, that was filmed in Rufaro Chisango's halls of residence or dorms at Nottingham Trent University, and in a confession, many years ago, I went to Trent too. Now, in the Nottingham example, the 18-year-old men involved in that chanting were arrested and have been charged with suspicion of a racially aggravated public order offence. At Exeter, a man called Matt Bell from that WhatsApp group has lost his place at one of the UK's best law firms, and the other members have been banned indefinitely from the Bracton Law Society. The universities have, of course, responded. Trent said, "We are shocked and appalled to see the video of racist chanting. This kind of vile behaviour will not be tolerated at NTU. Those suspected perpetrators have been suspended immediately, pending a full investigation." While Exeter said the University of Exeter does not tolerate any form of racist, sexist or bigoted behaviour and is committed to eradicating any instances of discrimination and harassment that may arise. All right, well, we can talk to Ilyas Nagdi from the National Union of Students. So, Ilyas, social media shone the light on this, but my sense is just scratching the surface.
Absolutely. The stories that we have seen come to light over social media are very much the tip of the iceberg. For every one story of the Bracton Law Society, for every one story of Rufaro Chisango, there's 1,000 stories which go unheard.
And what are universities doing to try and stop this? I mean, you can't police people's thought. How can you stop them being racists?
So one of the mechanisms which students have actually been campaigning on over the last few years is the implementation of things like zero tolerance campaigns on campus. What we now need to see is a refreshed commitment by universities to really properly fund and resource these campaigns, to really put their entire backing behind it, and to make sure they're working with the student body and holding themselves transparently accountable. Like, there's clearly something wrong on our campuses if this behaviour is still continuing, and universities need to take account of that, and they need to take proactive action immediately. I
mean, Ilyas, could these just be isolated incidents? I mean, the Nottingham one, those guys were clearly intoxicated. That Bracton Law Society one, that's a bunch of lads, as I said, engaging in what they would term banter. Can you spread this wider, do you really think, and say that there's racism endemic on UK campuses?
I would exactly say that. I think whenever instances like this occur, one of the first sort of statements which institutions and other people turn to is that these are isolated incidents, these are one-off incidents. But actually, if we look at the pattern that's being built up here, if we look at the national conversation that's been happening over social media, over the last few weeks, as some of these incidents have gone viral, it's very much clear, like, this isn't just a once every month, once every 2 month thing. This is a day-to-day reality for marginalised students on campuses here.
And Ilyas, the point is, I guess, as you mentioned, social media and things going viral. When I was at school at Trent, we didn't have the chance, I guess, to have these instant reactions to things, to horrific things that happened to us. So we weren't able to make these things go viral. Social media is playing a big part in making sure that these causes are looked into properly.
Yeah, so social media is playing a big factor here in these instances going viral. But what's also interesting is the university's response to a lot of these. That it's almost as if like there's a wait for these incidents to gain traction. Until these situations go viral, like universities will not deal with them. There's almost that sort of trend playing out here. When I'm speaking to students on a day-to-day basis who are telling me about incidents on campus, that they've spoken to so many different people within universities and the sort of affiliated organizations, they're being told that they're being bounced from individual to individual across the institution. And no one is taking account and listening to them and helping deal with the situation. And so they have to air their frustrations on social media. And I think until universities do take proper account of this internally, it is going to be accountability through social media, because that is the only accountability that students are seeing any real action from.
And Ilyas, what response have you got as a member of the National Union of Students from universities?
So we've not reached out to, so as the National Union of Students, we work with students on a day-to-day basis and with student union and officers. So I've been reaching out and speaking to many of the students affected by these different situations, whether that's in Nottingham, in Exeter and in De Montfort and elsewhere. And I've been speaking to them on a personal basis to see how I can support them and how I can support elected reps throughout this process. And the conversation is, again, happening in the same way. Like, these incidences aren't new. That's something which people have tried to raise through internal mechanisms. And quite often, those internal processes and procedures end up working against the students. They end up exhausting the students. So they are doing the only thing now which they have seen has worked. The only thing that institutions are truly caring about at the moment, which unfortunately isn't the welfare of their students, but is the reputation of the institution. And so students are going to have to take to social media unless universities start to deal with this robustly and properly.
All right, Ilyas from the National Union of Students, thank you very much for joining us. We are, of course, going to keep across this story here on NewsFeed, so we'll have more on that as it comes to us. Let's look at what else is trending on social media. Well, this is Jahan Tab. She's taking the entrance exam for a place at university in Afghanistan. She'd already travelled 8 hours to take the test, and then her 2-month-old started crying. So she picked her up and went back to her exam, which she passed with a great score and now has a place at a prestigious school. Well, after these incredible pictures went viral, a GoFundMe page has been set up to help her with her school fees. It's on your screens now. It's called Help Jahan Tab Go to University. It's so far raised £7,276, and come on, you can afford a couple of dollars, tele, or whatever it is that you guys use. Next, a filibuster Kosovo style. This is the parliament, and some members from the self-determination movement are not happy about a vote on a border deal with Montenegro, so they released tear gas. The deal with Montenegro will apparently cede too much territory, about 30 miles of Kosovo, to its neighbour. And this is not the first time that the same party have used the same tactics. Gas masks may become a necessity for Kosovan parliamentarians. And I had to show you this tweet from an Aussie betting company trolling England getting smashed in the cricket in New Zealand. Now, if you're not into cricket, those ducks represent 5 of England's batsmen, scoring 0. Lance will be up in about 10 minutes with the sport and the whole sorry story. Well, now a story that we have been tracking here on NewsFeed, the Texas bombings. The man responsible for the bombing campaign in and around Austin blew himself up as police were preparing to arrest him. They recovered a phone that has, they say, a confession and details of the 7 bombs he built. Well, one of those bombs killed 39-year-old Anthony Stephen House on March the 2nd. 17-year-old Drayden Mason was killed in another. 6 other people were injured. Some of the bombs were sent in the post, others left on doorsteps. One was triggered with a tripwire. Social media began asking a number of questions, some of which have not been answered. We'll get to those in a moment, but first, this is what the police say.
He does not at all mention anything about terrorism, nor does he mention anything about hate, but instead it is the outcry of a very challenged young man talking about challenges in his personal life that led him to this point.
Well, this is the bomber wearing a disguise delivering one of his bombs. That's a blonde wig he's wearing. Well, now those unanswered questions. Did his campaign have a racial element, as some of his victims were from minority groups? But the bigger question that's been plaguing us and we've been talking about today is, why has this not been declared terrorism? Police already know he held strong beliefs. He was anti-abortion and thought homosexuality was a sin. A community was told there was a very real threat, a threat that could strike randomly. Police at one point told people not to open packages. I'd have been terrified. Isn't that terrorism? Right. Sorry, not sorry. That's my take on the apology, if you can call it that, from Mark Zuckerberg. Here it is.
So this was a major breach of trust, and I'm really sorry that this happened. We have a basic responsibility to protect people's data, and if we're to have the opportunity to serve people. So our responsibility now is to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
Phil is across this for us. So Phil, what's at stake for Facebook here?
Well, on the extreme example, they could get kicked out of key markets, but that's just an extreme example. But what's more likely and what they fear is regulation. For many years, like companies like Uber, Facebook, Netflix, they've all been operating as if they're different from everybody else. They have been operating outside of government regulations. Now, regulation means that they're going to have to level the playing fields, and government sets the rules on what they can and cannot do. And this could impact heavily on innovation. This, if it does happen, could affect their share price, and they could lose millions of followers too.
Absolutely. And there's something very interesting going on, isn't there, with the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. We saw his sorry, not sorry, as I've been calling it, in the last sort of 12 hours or so. What's your sense of how he's dealing with what's been going on?
Well, Mark Zuckerberg is somebody who wants to please everybody. But many engineers don't share the same view. They believe that Facebook has become a place that is making everybody depressed. Last year, for example, the issue of fake news was a big thing for them. Many people left Facebook because of that, and Facebook introduced many changes to deal with that. They, in fact, lessened the amount of news content you see, and you got to see more of your friend content. Facebook is really trying to hold on to the younger demographic and also attract new skills. And these allegations by these reports about Cambridge Analytica could not have come at a very bad time, because Facebook was trying to turn itself around.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see what happens next. Philip, thank you. Now, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia is in the United States, and during a sit-down for the press, President Trump didn't think it was enough to talk about the billions of dollars in arms the US is selling to his kingdom. He got out the giant flashcards. Take a look.
But if you look in terms of dollars, $3 billion, $533 million, $525 million, that's peanuts for you. Should have increased it. $6 billion, that's for frigates. 889 million, 63 million, and that's for various artillery. Some of the things that we're now working on, and that have been ordered and will shortly be started in construction and delivered. THAAD system, $13 billion.
Now, the best part of that video have got to be Prince Salman's awkward laugh. Now, from those world leaders, onto another. Do you love Kanye like Kanye loves Kanye? And would you want to love someone who loves Kanye like you love Kanye? Well, soon you'll be able to, because a guy called Harry Dry is developing an app.